first graders, welcome back to video 2. We'll start by reviewing that I read the story to you, The Three Little Pigs, and we were talking about point of view. And we remember that good readers know who is telling the story. Is it a character within the story, or is it somebody outside watching and telling the story as it happens? Also, we learned with this story that good readers know who is speaking as you listen to a story or as you read a story. So I wanted to talk about that, and I also told you that we're going to listen to the wolf's side of the story, and that's what we're going to do next. Before I start that video, though, I have another riddle for you. What do you call a pig who is in a tug of war? Pulled pork. Ha ha ha. I thought you might like that one. Okay, so now we're going to listen to the second story, and this is actually called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And I think the wolf is going to tell us some funny things, some tricky things. So stay tuned and remember to be thinking, who's telling this story? Is it a character in the story, or somebody watching? And remember to think about who's speaking as the story is told. All right, we'll talk about it after we're done listening.
The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by A. Wolf. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf. Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in?" No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the doorbell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled back, "Go away, Wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was a second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now, you know how food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar.
Did you enjoy that story, the true story of the Three Little Pigs? Who do you think was telling that story? Do you think it was one of the characters in the story? Or do you think it was somebody outside of the story? I think it was the wolf. Did you guess the wolf? He definitely was telling this story to make himself look good. And he definitely was acting as though he didn't mean to blow their houses down. But I'm not sure if I really trust his version of the story. But remember that good readers often are thinking about who is telling the story. What perspective are we listening to? Is it somebody in the story or somebody watching the story? Also, good readers know who is speaking during the story. So that's something that I'm hoping that you kept in mind. And I have a couple quiz questions to see if you were listening. Okay, the first one is, who do you think said, "Get out of here, wolf, and don't bother me again"? Who do you think was saying that? If you guessed the third little pig, you would be right. It says, "I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, wolf, and don't bother me again." There it is. Get out of here, wolf, and don't bother me again. All right, I hope that you guessed that. All right, the second one is, who said, "And your old granny can sit on a pin"? Who do you think said that in the story? Were you listening? Okay, let's look back in our text and see. Here it is at the bottom. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." It was the third pig again. All right, and who do you think said, "Mr. Pig, are you in?" That was the wolf. If you look here, you can say, "I called Mr. Pig, are you in?" So it was the wolf. Okay, I have one more joke for you. What do pigs give you on February 14th? Valens swines. Get it? A swine is a pig. All right, see you next time. And we will be discussing in video 3, we will be doing Packet 4, Week 8, the worksheets that go with days 1 and 3. So when we start the next video, be sure to have your worksheets ready to go. Okay, see you next time. Thanks for listening.